to Pink Perspectives, powered by the Pink Table Talk. I'm your host, Dana Johnson, and joining me for a seat at the table is Katie Reitman. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here.
So, just a little bit of a backstory of how Katie and I met is through the power of social media. Social media in this pandemic phase that we're in right now throughout the world has become a powerful source and a way that people are utilizing their time. They are on their tablets more, on their iPads more, and on their phones. And this is how Katie and I became acquainted through my friend Joanne Pollard Williamson inviting me to partake in Katie's party. The party that she launched and talked about was through her brand, Zaya, and she was fundraising for Pink Warrior. So I invited her to have a seat at the table, and she graciously accepted, and here we are. So if you can, tell me a little bit about how did you become involved with your breast cancer advocacy and your work in launching Zaya and fundraising for Pink Warrior?
So, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was in middle school. And so I've always been aware of breast cancer running in my family. My mom was one of 11, and she had 9 sisters. And at this point, 5 have had breast cancer, and 4 have had a recurrence. My mom died when she was 51, and her sister died when she was 41, leaving 4 small children at home. So after she died, after she was diagnosed, whenever I had a chance in high school or college to do a research project, it was going to be on the latest breast cancer technology or the latest in breast cancer research or ways to avoid breast cancer, because I knew my family had a strong history of breast cancer. So I remember in college doing a research report on tamoxifen was just coming out, and it was one of the first preventative treatments of breast cancer. So fast forward to the last few years, since then I've gotten married. I've had 4 kids of my own. I have 2 boys and 2 girls. And after my 4th baby, I started thinking about, all along, I've always been thinking about my own health and trying to do everything I can to prevent me getting breast cancer.
Yes.
So that would be reading all the right books and eating all the right foods and exercising and everything I can to fight off my own genes, Yes. So I think last fall, so I always knew my mom's side of the family had a strong history, stronger than most maybe. And then last fall, my dad's sister was diagnosed with breast cancer. So that made me feel like I had 100% of breast cancer genes, so knowing that I have my mom's genes and my dad's genes, and breast cancer's now on both sides, I just started thinking about what I could do to prevent my kids losing their mom, like I lost my mom. So I went in for my first mammogram after when you're pregnant or breastfeeding, you can't get mammograms. So there was 10 years of my life, maybe, that I was pregnant and nursing straight. So I knew it had been a long time since my last mammogram, and I went in, and they called me back and said, we see something and we want you to come in for an ultrasound. So I went in, they got me in for the ultrasound maybe 7 days later. So I spent those days thinking about what would happen if it was cancer. So my husband and I just decided, if it is breast cancer, we'll take care of it. And if it's not, then maybe I need to look into taking care of it with a preventative double mastectomy. So it just felt like I was worried about going in every 6 months for screenings and getting called back every 6 months and having those days of anxiety in between, wondering if I did. So during that visit, they found it was milk in my ducts because I was still nursing. So I was cancer free. I just couldn't shake that feeling of, I'm worried that next time it will be breast cancer.
Exactly.
So I started, I think at that point I met with the surgeon to talk about putting this preventative double mastectomy on my calendar. And so we decided for June of the following year for the surgery. So then the next December came up pretty quickly, and I had my next 6 months. Every 6 months, I was on a plan for high-risk screenings. So it was the next December, I had a mammogram, and they called me back, and they wanted to look more into it. And again, it ended up being nothing. It was a lymph node that had moved, and that was what they were seeing on the ultrasound and mammogram. But it scared me again.
For sure.
It's just, I'm looking at my baby, who's still a baby. She's 1 year old. At the time I had a 1, 3, 5, and 7-year-old.
Oh,
and so leaving that appointment, I went straight to the desk and I said, I want to talk to my surgeon right now. So I was able to get in with her the next day and say, it is too hard for me to think about in between these screenings that I might have cancer, and I need to move. I want to talk about moving up the surgery. So I said, can we have this preventative surgery as soon as possible? Wow. So we were able to work with our insurance and put the preventative double mastectomy surgery on the calendar for February 20th of 2020. So at that point, it was December of 2019. So after we put it on the calendar, they set up a lot of preventative doctor's appointments meetings. So I needed health evaluations, I needed to do patient training, just felt like I had, as soon as I scheduled it, I had 1 million doctor's appointments.
Wow.
And so I went in at that point, after being cleared of my mammogram in December, I went in January for a pre-surgery MRI, just for them to look over everything before they go in for my preventative surgery. And that's when they found that I had stage 1 breast cancer at that point. So I think that shows how much stronger the MRI screening is than regular mammograms, and how important it is to have multiple imaging.
For sure.
For high-risk patients. Even going in as often as I did, I had a clear mammogram and ultrasound in December. Wow. And I had stage 1 breast cancer that they could see in January.
Wow.
So everything moved forward with the surgery as it was. For me, it was the best case scenario because I was already planning for childcare and for recovery. I was already doing research on what I needed as far as supplies for my recovery for the same surgery. So we just moved forward with, which was now not a preventative double mastectomy, it was a life-saving double mastectomy. So I just think about sometimes, like, what if I had just waited the next 6 months till June?
Exactly.
Would it have been a stage 1 4 millimeter, cancer, or would it have been a greater, it would have been. So that's scary to think about, but I'm really thankful for how it did turn out. I'm thankful that I felt moved to move the surgery up. I'm thankful that I had that time to recover, and it was really hard to go through. So then moving forward, I had a follow-up surgery. I had that surgery in February. I had a follow-up surgery in July, and that's when I started working with my activewear business, and just as a distraction, and it was fun, and I loved the clothes, and it was fun to share and meet new people, and I decided that my kind of plan was in October I wanted to use that business to bring awareness and to raise money for a cause that was near and dear to my heart, which was the Pink Warrior Advocates. So through Joanne, who wanted to have an event and a party to share with her friends, my activewear line, we were able to connect about our, losing our mothers to breast cancer.
Exactly.
And she wanted to have this party that also raised money for Pink Warrior Advocates. So what Pink Warrior Advocates is it's a nonprofit organization run by women who are survivors themselves. So they create these wonderful care packages for women who are going through chemotherapy, filled with like beautiful scarves and blankets and earrings and makeup, just to lift the spirits and to try to help in the little way that you can, to do something for someone who's undergoing like horrible chemotherapy treatment. And they have partnered with Ana Ono Intimates, which is a mastectomy intimates line. So you can get mastectomy robes, mastectomy bras, which I don't think people are aware, but they are expensive. And when you've already gone through this surgery, and you're left with no undergarments that fit, or if they do, they hurt your incisions.
Exactly. The comfort.
So people don't know, it's like, okay, well, now I have to invest in new bras, and they're $70. So what Pink Warrior Advocates does is they donate one, they send one to anyone who is diagnosed with breast cancer. So to be a person diagnosed with the breast cancer, which I thought I was going to avoid but didn't, getting that free bra in the mail, it really did lift my spirits. It's like you just feel a little bit cared about, or you feel like you're not so alone fighting this battle. Like that other women have gone through it, and they send a card with it and say like, we're praying for you, we're cheering for you. And it's just a wonderful organization. So through meeting you and my other October events, we were able to raise $5,000 to give to Pink Warrior Advocates, which every $25 is a bra donated to a person. So with $5,000, I feel like we were able to do a lot of. I was kind of my goal. I didn't have a number in mind, but I thought, if I get to $1,000, it will be worth it. If I get one bra donated, it will be worth it. And it made me feel so good that these women who, I don't think it's a big nonprofit like Susan G. Komen, or it's like they're doing work that directly affects breast cancer patients, which donating to the bigger causes helps as well, but this cause like directly impacted my mood, my feeling, my recovery.
Exactly.
So that was wonderful.
Oh. So in the season of Thanksgiving, we are both thankful again for our friend Joanne for connecting us, and for the Pink Warriors and for the work that they do and just thankful overall for the things that you, the audience, may not be aware of, or that I'm just realizing in regards to the draws that you were speaking of. Having not been diagnosed myself, but a true advocate for breast cancer, it's great to be able to find out that there are these type of resources that are out there, and to learn more about them. So we will have more information in regards to how you can donate to those particular agencies that she spoke on. So please take a look. And moving on, so you spoke about your family history and in regards to your siblings and your dad and your mom. So having lived through that and losing your mom at like such a young age, is there a story that you can share with us in regards to just how that experience like impacted you, just like overall? Just like, I know we kind of talked about it and touched on it a little bit, so I'm kind of just rephrasing the question, if you will, in regards to just your platform.
Sure.
In regards to breast cancer. But I'm kind of interested from the family dynamic and how that changed for you, you know, being a sibling of a big family, and, you know, now having to find other resources, whether it be family or friends who had to come in and kind of be a support system or nurturer in respect to your family dynamic and dealing with breast cancer.
I mean,
because you were, you know, for a middle school student, I'm sure that had to be hard with losing your mom.
So my mom was diagnosed when I was in middle school, and then she had stage 0, and her sister, you know, fought breast cancer at the same time, and then my mom recovered, and her sister lost her battle. 10 years later, it came back for my mom. So we had that extra time and that extra perspective of, you know, you did have cancer, but you're okay now. You survived. So when it came back, she was having stomach pain that she was kind of ignoring because she was a tough lady that didn't really complain. So she was taking Pepto-Bismol and kind of thought nothing of it, and she went into the doctor, and the doctor said that her liver was 3 times the size that it should be, and that it was breast cancer that had metastasized in her liver, and that's why her stomach was hurting, that's why her stomach felt stretched out. So that was January 15th of 2006, and they sent her home to hospice care. I mean, she was 51 years old, this active mom of 3, always helping, always at church, you know, like daily mass, taking older women to their doctor's appointments. She was just like a wonderful person, and ignoring her own symptoms. And they said, we give you 4 weeks to live. So, you know, they tried a double dose of chemotherapy, but it was too late. I mean, it was taking over her body was shutting down at that point. So it was hard because, you know, we had just had Christmas. It's 2 weeks after Christmas, and they're saying, we don't think you're going to make it till Valentine's Day. And she's young, you know, and we were young. You know, I was 22, my brother was 20, and my other brother was maybe 23 or 24. And so we were kids, you know, I mean, we were adults, but we need our mom.
Oh, for sure.
And so it was kind of a scramble, and we watched her get sicker, and the chemo didn't work, and it just made her sick. And, you know, I felt really lucky at the time because we got to have goodbyes. We got to have last questions, you know, versus if you lose somebody suddenly, you know. So I felt blessed that we had that time of knowing that she's ready to go. You know, she said, my body is a shell. I will always be there for you. I will never leave your side. You know, I'm your mom forever, and don't ever feel alone. If you ever need a hug, just think about me and I'll be
Now
there.
I want to like hug you because I feel like we're like kindred spirits. Like even though we had a pre-conversation before me inviting you to the table, like a lot of what you're sharing is what my brother and I went through. Our mother was around a similar age and had gone through all of the diagnoses, and from our perspective, she was okay and had gone through the 7 years, and that at that time, if you had reached that 7-year mark, then you were in your remission and you were okay. And we had the hard conversation with her and our dad, and him basically saying, hey, we want you to come over because we need to talk. And we thought that, okay, it's the beginning of December, we're talking about Christmas. Like, no idea. Like, we knew, you know, that she had gone through it, but like, that was not the conversation we were coming over to have. And yeah, it was kind of the same thing. Like, January 8th, she passed away. So like how you were talking about, like there was no time. Like you had that 7 years, or with you that 10 years, and you're just like, okay, you know, like we kind of made it, or whatever, or however you want to phrase it. But then you get that second run and it hits you like a ton of bricks, because then they give you this date.
Like the end date.
Yeah.
And you know what, my cousin who lost his mom when he was young, I remember talking to him after I lost my mom, and I said, I just feel gypped. You know, everybody else, you know, they got their final year, or, you know, it was just so fast that she was gone. And he said, he had really good sound, you know, perspective. He said, no matter how long you have with somebody that's sick, the last 4 weeks, the last week, it's still going to be that hard. You know, so at least she wasn't sick for 7 years. You know, she was healthy, we had a beautiful life, and we got that time to say goodbye. But it's like at the end, even if your mom's 100 years old, it's still going to be that hard.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
Oh, for sure. For sure. And I'll just go back to what you said when you found out, because no matter what age that you find out, and you and your siblings being in your 20s, like you still need your mom. So that resonates, and I'm sure it'll resonate with like a lot of you as you hear this conversation. So I'm appreciative that you were able to share your story and have a seat at the table, and you are more than welcome with your family to come back at any given time that you may wish to share further, just in another capacity. Thank you. So, again, I'm your host, Dana Johnson, with Pink Perspectives, formed by the brand, The Pink Table Talk. Thank you for joining us. Please like, share, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And see you next time. The Pink Table Talk will be offering our fabulously scented, custom labeled Pink Table Talk candle. Each one hand poured by Cheyenne Candles as a symbol of continuous support to the causes and awareness of breast cancer. The candle light, we'd like to say, represents an eternal flame that will burn in memory to the lives lost, and in commemoration to those who continue the fight with cancer and our never-ending crusade to bring awareness. Proceeds from purchasing go to the building of the Pink Table Talk advocacy and outreach, as well as our ability to support other programs and agencies in kind. Thank you for joining us.